Welcome to Hancock's VMware Hour.
And welcome back to another Hancock's VMware half hour. So firstly, my apologies. You may have noticed that I've been away for 72 days. My last video was on the 30th of August 2025, and then we slipped into the 31st of August, and traditionally for me, that's when we take all the honey off the hives, which we did. And we've been busy extracting, jarring, feeding, treating the bees. Just about finished. We've got mouse guards to stop the mice going in over winter on the last apiary, and then we're done. So that's really why I've been away from Hancock's VMware half hour, really, for the last couple of months, and also making candles for Halloween and Christmas as well. But anyway, you've got me back now, and you've got my full, hopefully I've got your full attention until the end of the year. In this next batch of videos, we're going to have a little look at a software product that I haven't used for a very long time. And it was really about time for me to build a homebrew NAS again, a homebrew network attached storage, and also iSCSI, and also a little bit of Docker, and also a little bit of virtualization. We've got a handful of homebrew NASs here in the home lab. We've also got some commercial NASs as well. We've got some Synology Enterprise NASs. We've got some small Synology Enterprise NASs. We've got some iSCSI SANs. We've got some fiber channel SANs here. But I wanted something really super fast that performs as good as it can across the network via NFS, SMB, iSCSI. And I really wanted the NAS to be based around NVMe storage. I could have used the Minis Forum MS-A2, but I sort of kind of really thought to myself that sacrificing those home lab servers as a NAS was probably a bit overkill, or probably too expensive really to use them in such a fashion. Kudos to William Lamb, because he actually basically put ESXi on an Intel NUC 11 Extreme Beast Canyon back in 2021. But I actually want to pick up on fellow vExpert Daniel Krieger, fellow vExpert and Broadcom Knight. And if there's anything that you want to know about VMware VCF version 5 or version 9, then he's the vExpert, Broadcom Knight to go to. And his website is sdn-warrior.org. And I'll put both William and Daniel's websites in the description for you to have a look at. Anyway, November the 19th, 2024, Daniel wrote a post, a very detailed post about using an Intel NUC Extreme 11, the beast that was actually basically spoke about. I'm sorry about the pun there, but the beast here that William spoke about, installing ESXi on it, the Beast Canyon, the Intel NUC 11 Extreme. Now Daniel took one of these and he created a NAS using UnRAID. Now I haven't used UnRAID in a very long time, but I do have licenses here. So I managed to get hold of an Intel NUC Extreme 11th Gen i9 at a bargain knockdown price. These are now discontinued. Intel no longer has anything to do with the NUC. I think they transferred the business or sold the business to Asus. That was a while ago now. And I think we're probably now into something like NUC Extreme 12th or 13th Gen. So this... these were manufactured in 2022. There are some of them still circulating around, brand new, sealed in boxes at knockdown prices. So if I can find a link, I'll put a link in the description for that, and you can have a little look. So I've actually got one here on the floor in the box, I've opened the box, but that's all I've done. I've not opened the NUC. I've not installed, because these come bare bone. So you need to basically put some memory in them, and you need to put some storage in them. And I've got my lovely, again, I'll put the links to the description here. I'll put the product links in the description. I've got some Kingston Fury RAM, 64 gig, 2 times 32 gig modules. Again, this is just going to be used as a NAS, but it's also going to run some Docker containers. It's also going to do some virtualization. So it's going to run some small virtual machines on it as well. So this is a 64 gig of RAM. It's DDR4, 3200. So this stuff really is sort of kind of increasing in price, or all RAM at the moment is increasing in price. And I also found, and these are for tests really and shits and giggles, because I actually found these in the motherboard box I was going to throw out. And these are XPG. I'm not quite sure if you can see that there. These are XPG GAMMIX S11 Pro sticks. The PCIe Gen 3 x4 SSDs, 512 gig SLC. So I've got a couple of these. I think that I was probably using, these for an ESXi build, and I don't think it liked them. So I swapped to Sabre Ent NVMe or Samsung, and probably just chucked these back in the box. Forgot all about them. So I don't even know. It says NVMe 1.3 on the box, 3D Nano, but I've got no idea whether or not that these are going to work inside this NUC. But this is, as I said, the RAM we're going to use in production. We're going to swap out these NVMEs later. The first thing really that I wanted to do was just to get the RAM installed, get some NVMe installed, and get an operating system on it. We'll probably put Windows 11 on it, just so that we can boot the device, just to check that it's actually basically working, so that I don't have to basically put in a request that it's DOA. So with that, I'm going to try. We tried this before, and it all went really peaked on. So what I'm going to do, I've just got an iPhone 7 here with a tripod type mount on it, using a quad lock case. And I'm going to use NDI. I would use my other phone, but for some strange reason, the NDI software doesn't seem to want to work with an iPhone 13 Pro Max with the latest iOS, which is, well, it's not iOS 26, but it's iOS 18.7.2. It doesn't work. So I'm going to have to use my iPhone 7 with whatever old version of iOS is on it, but it appears to be working fine. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and use this handheld camera to show you sort of kind of a quick unboxing that we're going to do. And then we're going to get the NUC up here. And I'm going to try and show you whilst I actually basically insert these modules and things and take it apart in front of you. That's the plan. As always, if you've watched these videos on Hancock's VMware half hour, they generally go Pete Tong. I was just looking here at why. Yeah, okay, that seems to be okay. Right, okay, so without further ado, let's just see whether or not this is all going to work. Okay, so here we go. Let's have a little look in the box. Apologies whilst I move away from the mic. Now, as I said, you know, these Intel NUCs, you know, they've been around since October 2022. So you can probably find a video already, really, of an unboxing. The box is absolutely massive. I hope the NUC inside is not that big. Anyway, so just bear with whilst I get that box. And there it is. What a beast. What an absolute beast. Canyon beast. Okay, so here it is on my desk. It's actually, the box is massive. The box is huge that it came in, but I must admit the actual device itself is a lot smaller than the size of the box, which is good because I actually at first, as I said, I didn't pay much attention to dimensions of this at first. I just pulled the trigger because, as I said, it was a fairly knockdown bargain price. And the main reason is because I can use 4 NVMe slots in this device for my fast storage. So the first thing I've got to do, and I do apologize that I'm away from the mic, but the first thing I've got to do is just to basically remove this back panel. And I do like that they've actually thought about holding these screws in so they don't fall out and I lose them. So that's a nice touch. Okay, so let's just remove this back panel without breaking it. Okay, put that down there on the box. Okay, and the next thing is just to pull off these side panels. Now, I think both side panels have to be removed. So we'll remove that side panel and we'll remove that side panel. That side panel actually which covers all the insides to get at the RAM and the slot. So if I put that there, can you see the inside of that? It's got a little pull. Well, it says pull on these brackets, and if we pull up there, then that basically just pulls the fans up. The next thing we have to do is remove. I'm looking for my screwdriver now. Put it down over here. Apologies. We've got to remove a screw at the back here, which again remains captive so it doesn't fall away. And we've got to remove a fan, sort of kind of a shroud, really. It's a plastic shroud that just sort of kind of directs air into here, which is the compute board, Intel Core i9-11900KB. And inside there is where we're going to put the NVMe sticks and we're going to put our RAM. And once we've done that, then I should be able to connect to power and we'll power up and we'll install an OS. I do apologize for the mess on my desk. As I said, this office is very small. I could do with a much larger office for doing videos like this. So the next thing, I've got my NVMe sticks there. So there's my NVMe sticks, and I've got my Fury RAM. So I'm going to have a little go at taking these screws out here at the top. Are these captive as well, so they don't disappear? Because these are much smaller. They are captive. There's a couple of little arrows on the top here that you can't see, that sort of kind of says pull. Let me check to see whether or not that I've actually got those disconnected. Yeah, they are unscrewed quite tight. I don't really want to. I could have taken the whole board out, I suppose, but let me just pull that up. There we go. Brute force and ignorance. Okay, so I'm just gonna rest that there. That is just a fan. So I'm going to open up my Fury RAM. And let's just bob the RAM in. Friend of mine, Paul, he bought some furry RAM the other day, but I think he bought DDR5, not DDR4. So tell you what I'm going to do. With all the light on in the office here, it's still a bit difficult to see. So just going to put a torch there just so I can see the slots and work out which way round these modules go. So does it look like they go? There's not a lot of space in this. Not a lot of space in here at all. In fact, that is the wrong way round. Typical. Really could do with more than one hand. Or doing this in daylight. Have a little look. Yeah, I think that those clips have secured. That one has, and that one has. Yeah, okay. Looks to be in successfully, and we'll get the other one in. Hey, what does that look like? Okay, so we've installed our two RAM sticks. When I finish, before I close up, I will actually basically move this camera a little bit closer so that you can see it a little bit more closer, really, what I'm doing. Okay, so the first NVMe slot here actually has a little label that says Gen 4, but I'm going to use these two over here, which are Gen 3, because later I want to put NVMe to U2 connector in here and somehow get my U2 device in here if there's space, but it's very tight. It's going to be very, very tight in here. Okay, so moving on, let's have a little look at our lovely red. Oh, sorry, hit the microphone. Again, these are just being put in really for test purposes. So just put all that rubbish there, and then let's have a little look at what we're doing here. Okay, so we've got two little screws at the bottom. Now they won't be captive. It's nice that we've got a little resting thing there really to rest on, but I'm not going to take them out all the way because otherwise they'll drop. I'm going to see whether or not I can actually basically just sort of kind of push these in like so, and yeah, I might have to actually take those screws out, which probably means I might need me magnetic that's definitely too big. I'm just actually wondering That's just it. I've got the screw. Let's just do the same with this one. Oh, it's thread lock. Just try not to lose those screws, you know, like, anyway, so let's just put in. That's the first one. So they've got to go back on there, and that screw's got to go back in. Okay, we're 21 minutes in. So what I might do is, once we've got this all back together, I'm just going to put that torch on there. That's all done. I'm not too sure if you can see, but it's a very nice touch that there's a lovely indent there in the plastic. Okay, so we've got memory installed, we've got the SSDs installed. So let me just move that round. So that's what we've got going in there. We've installed our 232 gig SODIMMs, DDR4s over here. We're going to leave that space. We're going to replace these two later with some Samsung 990 Plus, probably. But all I want to do today is just check. As you can see, there's not an awful lot of space. I'm not even sure whether or not that you'll be able to see in here. There's a spare connector. We'll come back to that in another vid. So if we just put that there at the moment. Okay, so let's get this shroud back on. So I noticed that there's a wire here for the fan, which actually basically is supposed to loop. And it's interesting because I actually noticed that there is some heat plastic stuff, heat transfer pads, whether or not that they will stick to the NVMe disks or not. I don't know really. If that's the purpose of them. They look a bit high, to be honest with you. Anyway, let's just let me see if we've got this wire. Okay, that seems okay. It doesn't seem to want to. Oh, okay. I can. Yeah, apologies. It's that wire down there that's. Okay, that looks. Ah, there we go. I heard it go click. Certainly on that side. It's okay. Let me put that screw in. Now, of course, these have got. Didn't realise that these have got heat sinks on. Okay, that seems to be okay. So I'm not sure whether or not that the no, I think those heat sinks are fouling. I don't think I'll be able to use them. Let me just put this on pause. Okay, so what I didn't realise, and a little bit of fettling 5 minutes or so. What I didn't realize was inside this shroud, the next time we take it off in the next video, or videos in the future, I'll show you. You'll have to remind me. Inside this shroud are 3 spring-loaded plates that the thermal tape is applied to, that actually basically are spring-loaded up against the heat sinks. So that actually basically gives you a little bit of play. But the other thing I didn't actually realize as well is that this plastic shroud is actually hinged, sort of kind of hinged at the bottom here. There are 3 clips, 1, 2, 3. And those clips have actually basically got to go in first, and then it's folded back and then screwed at the top in exactly the same way that we took it off, which is why it says pull from the top, because when you pull from the top, those 3 clips are actually basically clipped in at the bottom here. Little lugs rather than clips. Okay, so we can put our shroud. I was just looking to see where the screw had gone, but I have actually basically I have found it. Now, what I could have done, I could have taken this entire board out, because it is just a compute board which is actually plugged in the backplane, but I didn't really want to, because I didn't really want to start unplugging all these cables and things, really, to be honest. I've got very fat fingers, so I didn't really want to do that, as I thought that I would actually basically struggle. Should have done this in the daylight, really. As I said, I thought that I had quite bright lights here in the office, but doing this sort of kind of thing really in the darkness, should have done it in daylight. Okay, so that's that screw that's gone back in there, so we can now screw that retaining bracket there. We can now drop that back in there. So let's just recap. We've installed 2 of these. I don't even know if these are a thing these days. XPG GAMMIX S11 Pros. I don't even know when I bought them. It was a long time ago. But as I said, the NVMe version of them wasn't working properly with ESX, so that's why I abandoned and got rid of them. So we've got 2 of those in there, and we've got our Kingston Fury R64 gig. As I said, I'm not going to use this as ESXi. So now we've got to put the case back on, and the slightly heavier one of these actually goes on the CPU side, we'll say. So that's back on like that. And let's just get that back on there. Try not to snap anything, because you can sometimes feel when things actually basically go on. And these are plastic, so I'm not quite sure really, to be honest. See, in the home lab here, when I take things apart all the time, no, that doesn't feel right to me. Let's just put that there. Okay. Yeah, okay, that looks okay now. So finally, the final piece of the puzzle is this clips underneath, and then you fettle it to clip back on the top. There we go. So we'll just do, hang on, I'll move this back. So UnRAID is installed on a USB flash drive. It's similar to ESXi. although we don't talk about that anymore, ESXi on USB flash drives. But anyway, UnRAID, you put it on USB flash drive, you boot off it. Got lots of USB on the back here. There we go. So 31 minutes, excluding my waffle, and there we are. Intel NUC Extreme, Intel NUC Extreme 11th Gen i9 with 64 gig of RAM, with 2 NVMe slots filled, ready for our next video, where we're going to quickly boot Windows 11, hopefully, do an installation just to check that our NUC is ready before we start messing with UnRAID. Anyway, so thank you very much for joining me on this winter's evening at Hancock's VMware half hour on our journey into the Intel NUC Extreme 11th Gen i9 with UnRAID. So once again, thank you very much, and good evening to you, and